Hello, and welcome to the second episode of Something Fell. I'm Colin Blanchette, and I'm here with the cartoonist Karl Stevens, and we're going to talk about the second issue of Dave Sim's Cerebus. First off, show you some of the things we're working on and have worked on. Karl, you want to talk about Mother Nature?
Sure. Mother Nature is my most recent graphic novel, and it was one that I illustrated, and it was written by Jamie Lee Curtis and Russell Goldman. It's an eco horror thriller about a town that gets ravaged by this corrupt energy company, and the company ends up disrupting this Navajo spirit who comes back and seeks revenge on the company. So it's like a family drama that it takes place in New Mexico, and there's lots of blood and gore. And yes, I'm very proud of it.
All right, and then also Penny.
Yeah, and then Penny is about my house cat Penny, who is it's a gag book essentially. It's like mostly like one-page stories, in the spirit of Calvin and Hobbes and Peanuts, where Penny is having an existential crisis essentially for being like trapped in our apartment. So people tell me that it's funny, and it's probably my most best known work.
All right.
There's a sequel coming out later this year called Pepper.
Great. And that's from Toon Books?
Yeah, that's from Toon Books. Penny's from Chronicle, and Mother Nature's from Titan.
Sounds good. Available wherever fine comics are sold.
Yes.
For me, a little more down and dirty. A zine about comics. Canon. Canon number 6 is the most recent issue. These are available at canonzine.bigcartel.com. Have a website coming, actually. But yeah, just about a whole variety of comics from several different perspectives. We also do a zine about superheroes, sort of an odder take on superheroes. Die with Your Mask On. 1 and 2 are available. Issue 3 is coming soon, has a top 100 superhero comics of all time. Sure to start plenty of arguments, we hope. And then my newest little zine, 50 Things I Love About Fantagraphics. This year is the 50th anniversary of Fantagraphics. And so I went out and picked 50 things that mean something to me. Some of them are obvious. Some of them are pretty deep cuts. But I am proud of this little zine. So once again, canonzine.bigcartel.com.
Excellent.
All right. So let's get into Cerebus number 2.
Okay.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on this cover?
I think it's Dave trying to be Barry Windsor Smith, or even like Frank Miller, I guess. Like there's something with like the spareness of that demon head like coming out, like reminds me of the stuff that like Miller was doing in the 80s. So I swear, I mean, like even like the last issue, there's just seems to be like a lot of like visual ticks that Frank Miller seemed to crib from Dave Sim. I like wonder if he was a fan.
Yeah. You mentioned that last time, and I had never made any kind of connection, but you're right. This looks like it's straight out of the Wolverine miniseries.
Right.
Yeah, and I wonder if that's if it's a shared Barry Windsor Smith appreciation, or if he was taking a look at Cerebus. He must have seen Cerebus at that time.
Sure. Yeah, I would imagine. But I mean, I'm sure it goes like deeper than that too. I mean, there is like a bit of like Gene Cologne in there, with like the way that it, the like shadow, I guess, the, like chiaroscuro of it.
Mhm.
Like it reminds me of that. So maybe it was, I mean, I guess there was a lot of that going on in the 70s. Maybe like a touch of like Russ Heath too. So that just might have been like what was going on in comics at the time.
Sure. I'm kind of struck by the bold color. The first issue was all red, and now we have this kind of orangey yellow into red.
Yeah, that's true. It like starts with like the red orange at the top and it fades into yellow. So that's like the
Yeah.
standard comic book coloring for like fire. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure it would have cost more to like print it that way too. So I guess it's a testament to how well the first issue sold. So I mean, is it this issue that he like gained a distributor for the first time?
It is.
Okay.
I believe so. I mean, we'll see that on the back cover when we get there.
Okay.
But yeah, clearly he's a little more professional. And the first issue was pretty professional, but this issue is just sort of pretty well designed, or this cover is pretty well designed. And he's already, cutting off the part of the logo, the aardvark part.
That's true. That's a good point. Right, he's like already playing with like design elements.
Yeah. It's also interesting to me that like the number 2 with a month in a box is already here.
Right. Yeah, that's another good point. Yeah, that's something that he carries out throughout the entirety of the series.
Yeah, and which I really like. I like the uniformity of that, but it's interesting he was already had it in the second issue.
Right.
Yeah, hasn't quite got the price professionalized yet, but
yeah, it's true. But it still works.
Oh yeah, it's great. No problem. I like the hand-drawn quality of it, but he, eventually will incorporate those things.
Yeah, 100%.
All right. Okay, so we're going to start off with a note from the publisher, which from Denny Lubert, which Karl's going to be kind enough to read for us.
Yeah, and like going forward, I just thought that would be like a fun thing to do, to like read the like notes from the president or the publisher when it's Denny like this early. So, okay, a note from the publisher. In the beginning, it all seemed so simple. Dave and I had talked over the concept, and I agreed to be the publisher through the fact that I could give financial and moral support when needed. When did we ever mention conventions, though? Somehow, I never stopped to think that I'd have to introduce myself to total strangers, extolling the virtues of this comic book. Luckily, I haven't had to push Cerebus too hard. I've been amazed to find out that it can sell itself, but I do still have to make long-distance phone calls to ensure delivery dates. Despite the fact that I complain about it, I do enjoy meeting all these people, though. Comic book people, both the fans and the dealers selling the comics, are colorful in their own special way. For instance, on the way home from a convention in Toronto where I was introducing Cerebus to as many dealers as would listen to me, we stopped off at a restaurant to eat. Now, this isn't just 3 or 4 fans. This is a whole van load of fans and dealers who have just had a full day of looking at and comparing comic books. We descended on that restaurant, hungry, tired, and energetic as hell about comics. There were only a few other people in the restaurant at the time, and I fear they will never be the same. Gesturing wildly and talking loudly about Roadrunner cartoons and the various merits of different artists, we more than filled the place. At one point, I just had to sit back and take a look at the scene. There was no way we could be ignored, and yet everyone there was too busy being caught up in his or her enthusiasm to notice that we were being a 3-ring circus for the benefit of those few patrons there. Comics is a crazy business, but you know something? I wouldn't want to be anyplace else. That is, if I had a choice, which none of us do once the bug has bitten. So, yeah, I mean, I thought that was a very interesting look into the early days of fandom. I guess you could still call it that. in the late 70s. This is 1978 that this came out. And and also just how simple it was, and like we're talking about like the broader idea of comics, like mainstream, not just like the underground comics. So I thought this was an interesting insight into what fandom was like in Canada, I should say, in like the late 70s, and just how innocent, I guess, it seemed. It's not, I mean, because it's the comics fans that she's talking about aren't just the underground comics fans, or people who go to SPX. I mean, there were more I guess fans of superhero comics, what they called the mainstream at the time. So it just seems kind of quaint and like also nice too that they were part of this organic thing, that like it was people who were actually like fans of comics, and like that's it. And also like that like divide between comics and people who don't read comics.
Yes. Which must have been even wider back then, even though there were more people reading comics.
Yeah,
right. From the wider culture, there were probably a lot of people who just had no clue these even existed.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, like that's always been the thing, like with the industry, is that even like the so-called mainstream comics, we're still pretty small, like in the cultural sense. I mean, unlike say like 10 years ago when like all the Marvel movies were popular.
Very true.
So it just seems nice because it's also the it's like the beginning of the series, and they're already starting to like build this rabid fan base, and both Dave and Denny seem to be like just really cultivating something like with their fans, like really just being accessible, and I mean that's so key to success in in like any artistic pursuit like this, but especially comics, because there is such a community. So to like feel seen by like a comics creator just means like a lot, so like it builds like word of mouth too, which is like how you sell comics.
Yes. And of course, he'll continue to engage with conventions and fans more than the average creator, throughout the run of Cerebus.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, so he understood from the very beginning, and Denny obviously too, that is the way to build success, is to just press the flesh.
Yeah. I wanted to point out real quick, I don't think we made note of the first issue, but printed by Moyer Press and Fairway Press. So I'm assuming this is still a local printer in Kitchener or surrounding areas. Eventually he'll move to a real printer, but I think at this point he's still probably doing kind of a local print job.
Right.
Not that the object looks bad at all, but thought it was worth noting he's still doing this on a pretty small scale.
Yeah, for sure. He hasn't moved to the to like Prini, in litho, which becomes his printer for the rest of the series. So sure. I mean, I guess we'll find out when he switches.
So let's jump into the story here.
Okay.
I mean, note these long vertical panels. This looks like it could be just a Conan page with Cerebus pasted into it.
Yeah, for sure. Um, yeah, I think I wonder if he was swiping some of the figure stuff from like other like Conan comics,
Mhm.
because it like really does, as you say, like look like it was ripped out of like a Barry Windsor Smith drawing. But yeah, I mean it's very, again, like very accomplished. I mean, like even more so, like there seems to be this delicacy of his line that's emerging,
Mhm.
especially like in the mountains. Um, and then again his like use of the like black areas, his use of blacks, as they say.
Yes.
Again is very thoughtful and interesting. He's like thinking about like line weight, as a way to improve his compositions. And I also like that like little bit of smoke that's like, or not smoke, like vapor, like from the cold that's coming out of
Yeah,
his mouth. That's a really nice touch.
it is.
There's
And
like the two streaks of like whiteout underneath it. So
yeah,
so he's like already just kind of thinking about technique in an interesting way.
yeah. And I think we pointed this out last time, but his, use of multiple panels to show one larger image.
Right.
And Cerebus, he really does almost look pasted on in a lot of these pages. It does kind of give it this animated effect, which I don't think is really true later on. I think they're much more integrated down
Yeah,
the line.
but it's because he's, I think, trying to make more like realistic backgrounds too. And I mean it almost looks, I mean he certainly like hadn't seen probably any like manga like at this point, but
Yeah, I don't think so.
it does like resemble a lot of what was going on in Japan at the time.
Yeah.
I think like Scott McCloud in his book, he called it masking, right? Where it's like a cartoony figure with like the realistic background. He like already seems to like be thinking about that.
Yeah, I was also surprised at all of this narrative exposition that's going on. He really leans on that in these early issues, and I don't think that's something he'll kind of abandon later. Thankfully, because while it's not badly written, it's just kind of, it's a very 70s comic kind of approach.
Sure. I mean, I would even say it's more of like a Marvel comics approach. I mean, it's like that Stan Lee thing where he would just like explain everything. I mean, I guess that was because those Marvel comics are for children, so it's partly. I mean, that's what children's books do. They explain what's going on in the pictures. So I think, but Dave, I think this is just obviously coming out of the like parody impulse, to just write these overwrought, like what's the word I'm looking for?
Yeah, kind of purple prose.
Purple prose, thank you.
Yeah, we've talked about the Barry Windsor Smith influence, but Roy Thomas was writing those Conans, and
right.
To me, he's the exact example of this sort of overwritten, overwrought prose, along with you're right to point out the Marvel connection, because guys like Don McGregor and Steve Englehart, guys who really wanted to establish themselves as serious writers while still using the Stan Lee method.
Right.
Reads to some pretty wordy stuff. Really covering up work by great artists. at least Dave Sim is an artist first, so he doesn't cover up his own work.
Yeah, that's true. That is the advantage. And again, he's probably like poking fun at that as well.
Yeah, I'm sure he's having a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah, the second page, he jumps right into the action here.
Yeah, double page spread.
Yeah. Once again, continuing an image over a couple of panels, even though these are huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like this could just be Conan, right?
Oh yeah, 100%.
With the whatever this is called, covering his privates.
Yeah, is that I mean, I guess it's supposed to be some kind of animal fur.
I'm assuming, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, again, it's like his like sense of anatomy is just, like he probably hasn't set foot in an art museum or like studied,
Yeah.
anatomy in like any sense. Like he's just kind of, getting his cues from comic books, So it kind of lends, there's like a awkwardness to it. It would be mean to like pick it apart, but I just want to, note that, I mean, again, like he is like 22, so, and completely self-taught. So, which, I think like makes it all the more remarkable, that he's, it's more about like design and like, making it dynamic than it is about, being accurate. But,
yeah,
it's, I just,
this is very much, Barry Windsor Smith channeling Kirby. And he's channeling Barry Windsor Smith, who's channeling Kirby.
Right. Yeah, I know. It's like it's like the copy of the copy of the copy.
Yeah, like this guy here almost looks like a John Byrne figure to me, who was another guy who was, channeling Neil Adams, who was channeling somebody else,
Yeah.
But this is I think this is a great image here.
Yeah, that like diagonal, like it does like lead the eye,
Yeah.
And again, with like the Cerebus being pasted on there as well, and his expression, I mean that's something obviously that Dave really like leans into, the like cartoony expressions. I mean that really just becomes like one of his great strengths, and you can already see it in that, like, and in like the way that Cerebus is emoting. I also note just like the composition of like the figures in the ground, like on the ground, like just like popping up from outside the camera. That's just like a nice like trick, that it just shows you that it was this massacre. I mean, it's just like just showing like little body parts is, instead of just like a pile of like 20 bodies or something. It's just like a shortcut to make it seem like it's more, that there's like more happening off the panel. Anyway.
Yeah, like this little Conan helmet here.
Right.
And that seems to me like it's probably pretty purposeful. But on this page, I like the different textures he's using on all of the different clothing. The only real black he's spotting is on this guy's torso and some of the shadows here, but otherwise he's just doing different textures on every single surface.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, like the shield, he spent way more time on that than he probably needed to. Yeah.
But yeah, 100%. And it's really, he's starting, because it is like a black and white comic, he is like thinking about texture more to like, make it more interesting.
Yeah. And the great title lettering. He's already very good at. And I would say even just the lettering in the captions is already better than the first issue. mean, he really could have been doing this for Marvel or DC, you know.
Yeah.
At 22, he was already good enough to letter mainstream books.
Sure, yeah. Thank God he didn't, though.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so we're into the next page, and the massacre's over,
Mhm.
and apparently Cerebus is the only one left
Right,
from whatever group he was a part of.
right. Yeah, like we're starting to see Cerebus as this one man like wrecking machine.
Hmm.
Actually, I meant to like. Do you know when Gru started? Sergio
I
Aragones.
think around 80, 81.
Okay, so it was after.
Yeah, it was after. It was when Pacific Comics comes in. So
Okay, that's interesting because that's a trope of the Gru comics as well. Is that he's like this one man,
yeah,
like killing machine.
yeah. Gru's an idiot, but he's a killing machine, and Cerebus is a short aardvark, and he's also a killing. Juxtaposing, amongst. There's no reason either one of those characters should be as good at what they're doing.
Right.
But yeah, what really pops out for me in these early issues, is how much Cerebus just stands out.
Hmm.
I guess the use of the tones and the way he's drawn.
Yeah. Well, there is like a flatness to him. Like he's not as like defined. Like you don't really see the like details of Cerebus's
Sure.
like whole structure. He just remains this kind of simply drawn like cartoon character.
Yeah, like compared to this guy.
Yeah.
Also that Cerebus here responds. This guy's saying he'll sell him to a freak show, and he responds with sort of a curse in the guy's language.
Mhm.
I guess we'll find out later, but I don't recall Cerebus being really multilingual.
Yeah, that's true. I guess he is just like trying out things.
Yeah, right. I mean, later on, it would be very sort of out of character for Cerebus to give a shit what people are saying or how they're saying it.
Right. Yeah.
But here, he's really establishing him as a guy who wanders all over this land and knows things.
Right.
Well, so now they decide, Cerebus basically pitches himself as a sword for hire, and they decide he's going to do single combat
Hmm.
against, here's the guy who's going to fight Clog, who's obviously just him having some fun.
Hmm.
He's an idiot with a dumb name. He's meant to be fearsome.
Right. Yeah. Again, like with like the textures of like the clothes, it's very interesting. That like little cape, he's like drawing all those little symbols.
Yeah.
To like get a interesting gray tone.
Yeah. This visual gag here, pretty slapstick.
Mm-hmm.
Not that he won't do that again later, but I thought this might be the most slapstick thing he's done so far.
Oh yeah, 100%. And also it's shades of like Jules Pfeiffer too.
Yeah,
just this like dancing figure with like against like a blank background.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, he loses the panels here.
Yeah.
The only thing that really stuck out to me here, I mean, him using the snout to punch.
Right. Yeah, that was funny. I mean, I can't remember him doing that.
Yeah, I think he kind of loses that kind of thing later on. He just abandons, and like in my mind of Cerebus later, it's rarely ever even remarked upon that he's an aardvark, And here in these early issues, everybody mentions it. They're all talking about it. He even corrects someone and says aardvark, instead of man.
Right.
But
Yeah, that's I guess you could only do so much with that.
yeah, I agree, and I'm kind of glad he abandons it. But it's interesting to see in these early ones. Yeah, here's another Dave Simism that really jumped out to me is that so he beats the guy with his snout punch, and the guy's thinking, "Oh, you're probably not going to want to kill the guy," and he just walks over, grabs a sword, and just stabs him, and kills him. And that to me is the most Cerebus action he's done so far.
Yeah, that's true. And I love that panel of the word balloon just stab.
Yeah, it's great. There's
That's
like this is some pretty tortured drawing here, you know.
yeah. Yeah, like you can almost tell that he like, erased and like redrew that like a million times.
Yeah.
Just like what would that pose look like? Cerebus winding up to stab a guy in the face.
This issue looks really good, but do you think the fact that he was now kind of trying to do this on a schedule, does the art seem a little more rushed to you?
It doesn't.
Okay.
He seems to be. I mean, maybe like here and there, and like some of the faces, like seemed like he wasn't, spending enough time to like get them to look right. Like that guy's head next to the stab cartoon.
Yeah.
Lettering, looks like a little small, and I mean, like you can see little, like shortcuts, or it just seemed like, oh, that was good enough. Like he's not. But then I mean, like that the like page after that, or no, I guess like the page in the right, he like really seems to be going for it. I mean, I think that's just like the nature of like the comic artist. So I guess you're right. Like he is now like committed to doing this bi-monthly. So he's, I'm sure, just gave himself a certain number of hours for each page. So I mean, I know like when I'm working on, if like I have a deadline that's coming up, I really try to schedule out how much time I think I'll need like for the page, and just really adjust how much detail I'll like put into that page based on time. So I'm sure he's thinking about that.
Yeah, this is a pretty involved page, but even in the middle, this panel seems like be
a nice break.
Yeah, right. Probably took more time on the lettering than he did on drawing the panel itself.
Yeah, probably. And then and then like the bottom panels of, I mean, that's like very effective with the the like profile shot of the again, the like kind of Marvel comics. I think of that Avengers cover of Avengers versus the like Avengers villains, right, where they're both coming from the side.
Yeah.
And then like switching the angle where it's like behind Cerebus with like, and then and then the third one just him like right in the middle of the fight.
Yeah.
Even though it's like very I mean, well, he like pulls back, and then it's like an extreme like far away shot, and then he just goes in close for those 3 panels, and it like really works.
It does. Yeah, he kind of notices that these people are, well, he says they're ensorcelled. Ensorcelled the beings are. But yeah, they've got these blank eyes, which I guess are meant to say they're just sort of drones of some sort of magical force.
Yeah. Oh, I want to point out that middle panel of that page with Cerebus, just like ducking out of the way of that sword coming down, and just like how like elegant that looks, and like with his like medallions like sticking straight out, and his like ears, just he like really, that's just such a great drawing of it's just like that like sense of movement with with the figure and everything. It's quite good. It's like something that, I mean, he's like taking a risk there.
Yeah.
Because like that's hard to get right.
He also has 5 medallions shown,
Mm-hmm.
and right, eventually becomes just 3. It's always 3.
Yeah, that's a good point. I've always wondered why the medallions were the same gray tone as well. It's like
Yes.
using like they're like part of his body, Are they just like skin tags?
Yeah, so he's being herded in a certain direction. I really think this whole thing is just an excuse to get him to go down again into a subterranean locale,
Right.
which is kind of what he did in the last issue, where he's battling skeletons in all black. So here he's in this sort of snowy wasteland,
Mm-hmm.
and he's sliding down now to get away from the zombie character.
Yeah, again, like with that like moment to moment transition of like sliding down that mountain, it's very like very effective. Just him like tumbling like that.
Yeah, that you mentioned the motion over here. Here's another great one where you can see the medallions in the air and he's overturned.
Right, yeah, that's true. Yeah, he uses it.
And then this almost seems like a Looney Tunes panel here.
Mm-hmm.
Just an open hole that he has to fall through,
Right. Yeah. I mean, I would have like had like his sword or like something like sticking up, or like maybe like medallions like from the hole. But
yeah, it's kind of hard to tell. I mean, we know what's happening. He's falling down, but
that would have been that extra little bit.
And now here he is. He's in a completely different environment.
Right. Great page turn too. Just
yes.
From like the light, so it's like light to dark now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I like that with like the top left panel, like that bit of white coming down. Like the snow kind of like filtering in. That's a nice touch.
Yeah, he finds some writings. He says something about time and the immortality of all beings, which also struck me as I don't know if later Cerebus would have been able to decipher any of that. But yeah, walking through this environment's great. All these kind of this lighting from places you're not really sure where it's supposed to be coming from.
Right.
Various designs, but they look great.
Yeah, it's like he entered Tron.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Also like, ahead of his time.
Yeah, 100%. That's what we're learning. Dave invented everything.
Yes.
I do like how it like pulls back too, and like the camera like zooms in like as he's walking. Like that's a really cool technique. It's like very like cinematic,
Yeah, considering this whole thing's just him walking around, it looks great everywhere. It's a very visually appealing page.
Yeah. He's like really such a master of movement.
So he's hearing water, he's hearing his own footsteps, and now he hears the sound of a deep sardonic laughter. He goes walking towards. This, I guess this is, I don't know if this is supposed to be stone or what it is exactly, but it's a figure.
I think it is stone. Yeah. It's like, part of the cave that he's in, right?
Yeah. And he talks about finding the Eye of Terem. And we're already in the second issue. We're into the various spellings of Terem.
Right.
Which I have no idea if it was intentional at this point, but it will become a big deal later.
Yeah, that's true. And it is kind of okay. I mean, that seems to be the theme with like Cerebus, right? Everything's it's like misspelled first. like everyone spelled and then adapted as canon.
That's right. Yeah. And also no stone left unturned. Anything he ever mentions or does, even in passing, has to be significant later on.
Mm-hmm. On the right hand page in the top, when
Yeah.
the like third panel with like Cerebus against the wall, I like that touch of, I mean, I guess we're supposed to think that this cave wall, is probably like crystals or something, so that's all the reflective light. But like I like the two dots that are like coming out of the shadow that are almost to like mimic his eyes.
Yeah.
That was kind of a neat touch.
I agree. Yeah, once again, he's using the whole page for one setting, but the character moves through. I like this texture, which he didn't invent and people still use today, but I really like this texture in the background here.
Yeah, it's like Jasper Johns, like that,
yeah,
like that hatching. Do you think that this is like a Kriegstein influence with the way that the figures moving through the panels? I mean, like Bernie Kriegstein had similar approach to movement. So I know that Dave Sim's a big fan of his. So
gotcha. That he was definitely tracks. Yeah, he's definitely taking more time and playing with this sort of thing than I think a lot of the mainstream guys or the underground guys would have bothered with.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. I mean, except for maybe Corbin, but
yeah, Corbin, or maybe even his guy Gene Day I think he was doing similar things with Master of Kung Fu. And obviously he was a big influence on Dave, but I don't think you would see this sort of thing in the Avengers, or Justice League or something.
Yeah, that's true.
They wouldn't be patient enough for it.
Yeah, or just Dave has the luxury of more time as well.
Yeah.
So
some great, stone figures here too.
Right.
Okay. So the next page, he finds the Eye of Terem, the most precious of the 5 spheres of the gods, whatever that means.
I'm sure we'll
nice
find
lighting effects, though.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, again, like playing with like the whiteout or whatever white paint he was using to create that. And then like the textures of the
whatever that is.
Yeah, like whatever that is.
Yeah.
Display case. Not display case. Pedestal. Yes.
Yeah, pedestal. I mean, he's little bubbles everywhere filling that in.
Yeah. Yeah. I love noting all those little obsessive ticks,
Yeah.
I mean, that's just like for my own work, just something I think about.
He switches finally from the captions to his thought balloons.
Yeah, and also like with the lettering as well, like making certain phrases bold and like others not. I mean, that's that's kind of standard comic book lettering 101, but
sure,
it just kind of it just shows that he's like thinking about the like lettering as part of the drawing, that like it's not just just putting the words down to like tell you something. It's incorporating the words, like giving them emphasis, but also just making it more like a visual whole. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and we were talking about the spellings. Here on the same page, he has Terem and Tarem together. So, maybe it's more intentional than I thought. Right. I think this is a great page over here. I'm not even really sure I guess that's a hole in the mountain, um,
Yeah,
with a walkway leading up to it.
right.
Yeah, he notices a distant exit, and so now he thinks, I'm going to pick this thing up and cart it up there.
Hmm.
But yeah, I love these panels. I guess I really just love the lighting effects on this on this sphere.
Yeah, it's really cool. Just mixing like crosshatched, or no, it's just all like the like whiteout. There's no
Mhm.
pen, so he just went in there with some black and got out the white paint and just speckled it.
Yeah,
So,
he really does pull off a mystical object, though.
yeah,
It looks otherworldly.
right. And yeah, and it like goes over the like tone of like Cerebus, like as he's like carrying it. Like if you look closely, you can see like all the white
Yeah,
dots that are
yeah,
the like zipatone.
yeah,
Yeah, it's really cool.
yeah. And so this next page, he's still carrying it. He has his eyes closed,
Hmm.
and but they're popped open because of these um, energy like a darkling lattice work woven about his head. He's getting pretty purple there. Um,
Right. Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, well, like that panel in particular too. Like the like tone goes like over the like lattice work, you
Oh,
know,
you're right. Yeah.
so- and then his like ears like aren't really defined. It's almost. I mean, it's completely abstracted.
Yeah.
I mean, if like you take away Cerebus's like squinting eyes in his mouth, I mean, you wouldn't be able to tell what the hell that is.
Yeah. Just a gray object.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. It's almost like a color hold, right? The
Right. So.
um, all right. So this succubus comes out, which is really nicely drawn.
Mhm. Yeah, it's really cool.
And then you get these kind of Doctor Strange effects here,
Right.
Um, and then you get a nice bit of slapstick of him falling through.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, again, it's cool to like see him like repeat like certain like motifs,
Hmm.
like within it. It's like this issue is all about Cerebus falling.
That's right. And the sphere kind of turns into sort of a mundane white ball. Doesn't
Yeah,
have any of the sparkling energy that it had earlier.
right. Yeah, it just looks like a snowball. So,
Hmm.
so I guess the succubus sucked out the magic.
Yeah. So he finds himself outside. He isn't sure how long it's been since he got out there.
Hmm.
Um, you know,
Right. It's nighttime.
Yeah. And then he finds all of his I guess these are supposed to be the ensorcelled beings have now turned to skeletons, their sort of natural state. And there's his companions there. They've been killed.
Hmm.
But I mean, I don't know if are these supposed to be chopped off heads or are they supposed to be buried in the snow?
That's something that's not mentioned in the purple prose. So,
That's right.
I mean, I assume that they're just buried.
Okay. Well, that would make you think he was underground for a long time then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like at least 6 months, probably, right?
Yeah. I like this panel though. Him and the silhouette and then all these just the hints of the skeletons.
Yeah. It's really cool. That's
And
one of my favorite like comic book tropes too. Is like having the silhouette in
yes.
the foreground. I use that a lot.
Yeah, it looks great. And then the last page ends the same way the first one began with these vertical panels
Hmm.
and him moving throughout a landscape.
Yeah. It's like very symmetrical
Mhm.
and like really cool. and so, like that use of like the like triangle like in the middle, like dead center in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
It's like really neat. Yeah.
Yeah, and the moon brings to mind the sphere he just dealt with.
Right.
All right, and then the ad for next issue.
Red Sophia.
What's that?
Yeah, the Song of Red Sophia.
Song of Red Sophia. And you can tell he's not accomplishing it, but he's really trying to go for a Frank Thorne figure there.
Yeah, again, it's, I mean, once we get to it, we'll realize the limits of Dave's knowledge of anatomy.
Yes. Like you pointed out earlier, though, him in mid jump or something, there's his medallions, floating off to the side, his helmet's off his head, the sword.
Right.
Yeah. And that to me is a very Dave Sim lettering.
Oh yeah. It's like classic with like the hatching, like, coming up underneath it,
Yeah, it looks great.
It does look great.
So because it was bi-monthly, and I'm not sure if he got this out within 2 months, but there are actually letters. Aardvark comment, it's already called that by the second issue.
Right.
Pretty crazy. So there's a few letters from people here. I thought the main one to focus on, though, was the one from Frank Thorne.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I'll read it because it's fun. Dear Dave, Cerebus is the best thing I've seen of yours. A very successful parody of the genre and a difficult thing to pull off. You're irascible. How do you say that?
Irascible.
Yeah, irascible aardvark works perfectly in the context of the book. Blacks are solid, well-paced. The technique overall was splendid. Nice storytelling. Frank Thorne, Scotch Plains, New Jersey.
Yeah.
And then Dave, as is his wont in all the aardvark comments going forward, responds, and he says, "And to those doubters out there who figure I made this one up, I draw their attention to the dynamic rendering below, which Mr. Thorne was kind enough to enclose, in which I might hasten to add now hangs proudly next to my drawing board." So it's this drawing of Red Sonja, like tickling Cerebus, I guess. And she says, "Cerebus, did I ever tell you that you remind me of a certain Sumerian aardvark I once knew?"
Yeah.
So yeah, good luck, Dave. Yeah. So like very cool. Are you a Frank Thorne fan?
I adore Frank Thorne's work. I think he's fantastic. Really underrated now. What jumped out to me from this letter was the fact that Dave Sim had been already sending his work to Frank Thorne. And he had done almost nothing, right? He'd done very little stuff, all of it pretty amateurish. And yet he's like, I got to send this to Frank Thorne. And
it turned out to be a good move because, Frank was one of those artists that's like very generous with his time and, like in his work. So, I mean, like, as a young artist, it's like, that's what you need, like, you like need the encouragement and also, just like the professional contact. So, it's like very shrewd on like Dave's part, but also very great on Frank's part for, taking him under his wing, so to speak.
For sure. And to get a nice piece of art in the mail from him, already drawing his character.
Yeah, I know. Super generous.
Yeah, it's great. Wanted to point out that so it says late news. Cerebus fans on the East Coast now have their own outlet for Cerebus the Aardvark. You can order copies from Seagate Distributors. Tell them an Aardvark sent you. So Seagate Distributors is Phil Seuling's company. And Phil Seuling is basically the guy who came up with the entire direct market, buying comics on a non-returnable basis from the companies which was sort of a win-win for the publishers, the stores, the distributors. Everyone knew what they were getting into from the jump. And then, of course, the retailers had to try to sell the books, but, they weren't dealing with returns.
Right. And the like reason for that is because the back issue market was like it's like really strong back then. I mean, that comes out of the conventions, like the main reason why comics fans would go to conventions were to like, fill in their collections and like find back issues. So that became like a, source of income for like retailers, which is why the non-returnable thing like kind of worked within the comic book retailer world, because, even if they couldn't sell the issue that month, it would just stay in the long boxes and eventually someone would buy it,
Yeah. And, it's common
Like-
nowadays to go to stores and not even see back issues,
Right.
Not all stores, but there's a lot of stores that don't even have back issues, where back then the back issues were really the driver. And, a good store could carry every single comic that was coming out without stretching.
Yeah, 100%.
Which made it easier for guys like Dave Sim to come along.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they basically like bankrolled his career.
Yeah. I noticed that he has this full page ad for Oktoberfest comics, which he mentioned in the last issue. But they're trying to unload these things. The address is not his address. So I don't think he was the publisher of this, but clearly they're trying to move some of these books. Thought that was an interesting use of real estate.
Yeah, that's true. Right. Does it say, I mean, I have like the bi-weekly, like there's like a note. So like the bi-weekly was a reprint like 10 years later in 1988. And then like above, like Dave has like a little comment that says, it's 11 years later and Harry still has a closet full of Oktoberfest comics. The new address is Now and Then Books.
Yeah. That was that's a good segue to mention this. So on the back cover, here's an ad for Cerebus #1. I like that they're saying small quantities are still available. I bet that's not true. I bet there were quite a few still available.
Right.
And then there's also Beaver's buttons from these characters that he did in the Quack anthology and Oktoberfest. $1 for this button. I mean, that would be $4 or $5 now for that button.
Yeah.
Which I thought was interesting. But yeah, down here with the distribution, we'll start off with in Canada, Now and Then Books, and you're right to point that out. That's the same address.
Right.
And his name was Harry Kremer, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's pretty much the guy who allowed Cerebus to continue. He's the one who bought a bunch of them and sort of acted as a localish distributor for him by committing to buy a bunch. But he's already got a couple of things. So in the Eastern U.S., it's Seagate, who we just mentioned before. But this one was interesting to me. In the Western U.S., it's Jim Friel. And I've never heard of Jim Friel. And come the next issue, he's not there anymore. So I don't know if he was a fly-by-night guy. But also for the Western U.S., and he's based in Lansing, Michigan, which is pretty far east and right by where Dave is. It's
a good
not
point.
Too far from Kitchener, but not very west. I mean, I think eventually Bud Plant will take over this role as the West Coast guy.
Yeah, that's interesting. I wonder who this Jim Friel is.
Yeah. I'm gonna look into it, but I have to imagine he's maybe a guy who didn't last. But maybe I'll eat my words. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. So,
yeah, turns out he started Capital City.
that's right. Yeah, exactly. Also, this reproduction of the Cerebus 1 cover, it's just pink. Everything's pink.
Oh yeah, it is on this dude.
Yeah, and that must be intentional because he's using pink top and bottom here, but not the same as the original cover. I just thought it was kind of worth mentioning.
Yeah.
That would imply he had to recolor this, right, for this ad.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm not sure the paste up technique that he was doing. So
yeah,
I mean, it may have just been like a printer error.
That's very true. That's very true. I believe that on the first issue he did the coloring on an overlay.
Okay.
But you're right. It's probably more likely it's a printer error. The reproduction of the little Cerebus in the circle is a little rough too. I don't know. Well, there's Cerebus number 2.
Great.
Yeah. Still a fun issue. I don't think as good as the first one, but a fun issue for sure.
Yeah, and he's trying new stuff. I mean, you can see that already at this early stage he's like really just thinking about everything that goes into making a comic, and really just trying to improve. You can see that autodidactic brain firing on all cylinders.
That's right. Okay. Well, for those of you brave souls who made it all the way, we'll see you for issue number 3. Thanks, Karl.
Thanks, Colin. Thanks for watching.
All right.